I'm Eric, a 32-year-old company employee. I used to live with my wife, but we divorced 2 years ago because of her affair. Now, I am living a comfortable life being single. By the way, my ex-wife's affair partner was a foreigner who was employed as a temporary worker. He was a Brazilian guy named Gabriel, I think. Also, he has a wife and a child in his home country, and he came to the US through his American wife's status, but it seems that his wife quickly went back to Brazil to give birth. So as soon as his wife left, Gabriel did everything that he wanted. He had relations with every woman he could find, and he even started to have an affair with a married woman. It was Helena, my ex-wife. I found out about Helena's affair on a weekday afternoon 2 years ago. My scheduled business trip was suddenly cancelled due to some circumstances of the other party, so I had no choice but to go home. But I witnessed Helena and Gabriel in the middle of the act. I was so furious that I punched Gabriel in the face. Somehow, foreigners have a different kind of strength. I was easily beaten back. You're so weak. You tried to hit him, but you lost so easily. Gah, you son of a... Do you know what will happen if you do this? Too bad Gabriel doesn't speak English. He probably thinks you're a thief or something. What the hell? A thief? He's the one who's stealing my wife. I told you, he doesn't speak English. I mean, it's not cool to crawl on the floor and act all high and mighty. Damn it! And look at this. Helena pointed at Gabriel's lower body. As expected of a foreigner, the difference in size was so huge. You're a weak fighter, and even in size, power, and endurance, you're still a loser. If you're so frustrated, go to a men's clinic and make your thing bigger. I was so frustrated and disappointed that I ran out of the house crying, saying something like, I'm the one who pays rent on this house. That couch where they were doing it, wasn't that the one I saved up all my allowance to buy? I didn't even have time for doubts. I've never been called small, bad, or weak either, but I couldn't stand being compared to a Brazilian. Thanks to that, I got divorced after the Brazilian stole my wife, and I was traumatized by the sight of their sexual intercourse for as long as a year. The end. But a year ago, a goddess came into my life. Abby, an office worker 5 years younger than me, was not particularly beautiful, but she had an animal-like cuteness that made me want to protect her. I was still traumatized by the thought of my wife getting taken away by the Brazilian man, so I kind of had a phobia of women, and although I was interested in Abby, I couldn't talk to her. One day, as I was walking back to work from the smoking area, I caught a glimpse of her. I saw Abby crying alone in the dark boiling room. What's wrong? Are you okay? Eric, no, it's nothing. It's not nothing. I may not be able to help you much, but I can at least listen to you. But... Oh yeah? Well, why don't you listen to my problems for me? What? I'm too embarrassed to tell anyone, but a year ago, a Brazilian guy slept with my wife. What? So I wanted to beat him up, the adulterer, but he hit me back, and my wife laughed at me for being so uncool. You poor thing. And she said things like my crotch being smaller than a Brazilian's and that I was a weakling. I have a phobia of women because of it. I'm so pitiful, aren't I? Yes, I feel very sorry for you. So, what were you crying about? Hey, you can't just be quiet and let me be the only one to talk about embarrassing things. Well, you said those things all on your own. Well, that's okay. Just tell me what's going on. I did what I had to do to get Abby's concerns out of her. I was so embarrassed that I almost cried, but I wanted to help Abby even if I had to go that far. The power of love at first sight is amazing, isn't it? Well, Abby's problem was that she was being stupidly harassed by a senior colleague at work, so I solved that one right away. Yes. Well, I lied. I actually used a trick by tipping off our boss. But it brought Abby and I closer, and a month later we started going out. The trauma I had worried about was not a big obstacle in the face of our love, and that night I was able to let out all the things that had been building up in me over the past year. After we were done, I looked at Abby's face and saw that she was kind of spaced out, so I asked her, "What's wrong?" I was able to get over the trauma, but what Helena had said was still stuck in my mind. I was worried that I might have not been good at it, but my fears were unfounded. Abby was just surprised that she was satisfied for the first time with a guy. So, you've never been with a guy before? No, I didn't realize how good it felt to have sex with a man. Oh, you're acting, aren't you? I'll get angry, even if you're joking. I was really moved, you know. I'm sorry, but this is the first time a woman has ever said that to me. My ex-wife always used to call me bad or small. Oh no, What? Why are you crying? I'm sorry. Because of what my ex-wife said to me, I become afraid of women, even if what you said wasn't true. I'm glad. Thank you. You idiot. It's not a lie. At least, out of the guys that I've ever met, you're the best. Men are such simple creatures, so just a kind word from the woman I love was enough to make me feel 100 times better. After that, my phobia of women was completely cured. I also completely overcame the trauma of having my ex-wife cheating with the Brazilian. I'm not like Helena, though, and I would never cheat on my wife. So, I'm in a steady relationship with Abby right now. We have already met each other's parents, and all that was left to do was set a date for the wedding. But I guess that's when the obstacles can come in the way. I was looking at wedding brochures with Abby when she came to my apartment. That witch, of course. Helena, my ex-wife, who replaced me with a Brazilian guy. Long time no see. How are you? What are you doing here after all this time? I have nothing to do with you, so go home. Don't be so cold. Actually, I came here to talk to you about something important. Is it about you leaving your husband for Brazilian who had borrowed money from the mafia? Or that you're the co-signer on that debt? How do you know that? Because your mother came crying to me. I told her it was none of my business. Well, that makes things a lot easier. Hey, do you want to start over? Why? I don't understand. You're single and lonely, aren't you? From what I've heard, you suffer from gynophobia. You were slow in catching up. I've already gotten over that. So you're cured then? Yes, I'm cured. Then, how about 100%? Aren't you having trouble with women anyway? No, I have a much younger and prettier girlfriend than you. What? By the way, I'm engaged. We are planning to get married soon. So why don't you get the hell out of here? What? I, your ex-wife, am in trouble, so you should at least listen to me. Did you listen to me when I was divorcing you? You left me for that Brazilian guy. Shut up. It's your own fault you're not big enough. If you have a problem with me, you can start by having something as big as Gabrielle's. Don't be absurd. Our standards are very different. Don't make excuses for yourself, shorty. Aren't you ashamed of having such a lousy thing? I was getting beyond angry and disgusted. But if I don't do something about it, it's going to be a nuisance to the neighbors. Just when I was thinking, I'm going to force her to leave, Abby came from the back of the room, deliberately making loud footsteps. I glanced at her face and saw that she was completely furious. I knew it. This is the beginning of a war. But what actually unfolded in front of my eyes was not even a war, but a one-sided extermination. You must be Helena. You're the one who ran off with the Brazilian. You're Eric's girlfriend? How can you be satisfied with such a shorty? Well, I'm sure you'll get tired of it and cheat on him soon. No, that's not true. Eric and I are perfect for each other. He is the only man I've ever been satisfied with. No, let's not go there. You know, the neighbors will hear us. That's because you don't know what it's like with a Brazilian. Once you get to know them, you'll never be satisfied with Eric. Stop it, you. Shut up, I'm telling the truth, so I can't help it, right? Well, that's... What? If you have something to say it clearly. That's your... Ah, stop it. That's what I've been thinking too, but I couldn't say it because I felt sorry for you. What? What do you mean? Just say it. Or maybe you're not satisfied with Eric too. That's because yours is too loose. What? She said it. Wait a minute. Well, yeah, you know, I've been feeling sorry for you, but you're pretty much... Compared to this woman? No, Abby is the best I've ever met. Well, maybe 100 times better than you. So, will you leave now? Because we have to discuss the wedding. I quietly closed the front door. Helena's face, which I could see through an opening by the door, was as pale as the rainy Brazilian sky. After that, Helena and Gabrielle were caught by the mafia together, and Helena was forced to work in a brothel to pay off her debts. Gabrielle was working as a houseboy and couldn't send money back to his home country, so he lost contact with his wife and children. By the way, Abby and I got married the other day. We had our wedding night. Of course, but I got too excited and got her pregnant, so we're not going to have a night out for a while. Well, we didn't get married just because of our physical chemistry, and it doesn't affect our married life in any way.